Right. One thing done. So congratulations. Welcome to What If This Is the Fun Part? What if filling your practice, your coaching practice was the fun part? My name is Carolyn Freyer-Jones, and lots of you here know me and know the work I do, but some of you are brand new, so it's great to have you here, and I'll share a little bit about myself, and then we'll get going. So I have been a professional coach for over 15 years, and I am a University of Santa Monica graduate. I have a master's degree in spiritual psychology, which was really the very beginning of me discovering the world of professional coaching. And it took me a long while after completing USM to become a full-time coach, but that's where the seeds were planted. And the bulk of my work at this time is helping coaches. I have been coaching coaches and assisting coaches in their growth and development as business owners and in achieving financial success, whatever that means to them, for well over 10 years. I started doing that work with my business partner and best friend at the time, Michelle Bauman. And I will start
I said email it, don't print it.
I will say way early, mute yourselves unless I call on you, because you might have stuff going on. And you don't want, I mean, look, if I could, I would mute myself so you do not hear my dog barking, which will eventually happen. However, you need to be able to hear me. So Michelle and I started working with coaches, like I said, about 10 years ago. And my work really also came out of my being coached by Steve Chandler. So Steve Chandler has been my coach and really my only coach, although I've done work with other people for, I don't know, something like 15 years plus. I think I have the award for his longest running client. And today the webinar is really coming out of these questions that I have been sent from coaches who have been reading this book. Now, I want to be clear, today is not like, oh, please buy my book. That's not, you don't ever need to read this book to get value from today. So I'm just going to pause for one more minute and ask once again, if you're not muted, you want to mute, because some of us are hearing noise. So if you haven't muted yet, take the time to mute yourself. Awesome. All right. So today is not about, oh, please buy this book. It's not a requirement. You can get value from today, whether or not you have this book or ever read it. However, some of you who are new, who might be here today because someone invited you, might be like, well, what's the fun part all about? That's really this book. And the title, What If This Is the Fun Part, was created by Michelle. And for those of you who do not know, Michelle Bauman passed away 6 years ago, and she had started writing this book and didn't finish it because illness became the priority in her life and she couldn't really write anymore, and then she passed away. So I've been working on the book for a number of years, and it just recently got published. And for coaches who have read it, it strikes a nerve, this idea of like, what if this is the fun part? Because so many coaches walk around with these ideas around, oh, the coaching is the fun part, right? When I get a client and can coach, that's the fun part. And Michelle would always say to coaches when she worked with them that the enrollment conversations were where some of the most powerful coaching took place. And for her, that was some of the most fun work that she ever got to do, whether or not someone ever became her client. So, new year, people were asking me questions, and I said, hey, let's do this. Let's talk about what if filling your practice is the fun part. So we're going to have 90 minutes together. One other thing for you to be aware of, for those of you who don't know, so my work with coaches largely takes place in a coaching school that I have called the CFJ Coaching Success School. And the 2022 school is starting next Thursday on January 13th. Michelle's birthday is January 14th. So for those of us that knew Michelle, we're excited about that. There are 3 spaces left in the 2022 school. 3. And they will go. So if for some reason today you get so moved, reach out to me ASAP because they'll go. I want to be straight up. We will be full. The school is more full than it's ever been. And I am very excited about that and committed to those coaches having an extraordinary year. Now we're done. That's all the info on me that I'm going to share unless one of you asks me a question about me. Now we're going to get into today and the content of like, well, how did that happen, Carolyn? How did not to just it become fun? How was it fun for you? Right? So I'm going to give you some context and I'm going to share some things and then I'm going to open it up to questions and I'll do some coaching around whatever you want in the context of coaching. So I was a full-time person at the University of Santa Monica. I ended up working there after I graduated. I was the director of marketing to start. I started having a teeny tiny part-time practice, tiny. And at first I did it pro bono. I had 2 clients that I served pro bono as part of a different program I was in. And so I had to have a service project and I made coaching my service project. So I did not get paid. I coached 2 people. I served them wildly and I learned a lot. And as I was doing that, I realized like, I really like this. Like I loved my work at the University of Santa Monica, but when I coached someone, I discovered that it was such a unique opportunity to be with someone and make a difference in a very intimate way. And that was a game changer for me. I loved it and I loved it. And so I ended up meeting Steve Chandler. He came to a USM event for staff and he spoke. And I was starting to be at this kind of crossroads in my work at USM. I wasn't thinking about like, you can earn a living as a professional coach. That was not even a thought in my mind, but I didn't know what I really wanted at USM. And he spoke. I thought he was a really interesting, funny guy. And I don't know, a month or so later, I wrote to him and I was like, listen, I don't know if you ever coach people, but I'm just sort of at this weird crossroads. And I don't know if you remember me. I worked at USM. I was at this talk. I didn't hear anything. And if you're like some people who are like this now, if you don't hear anything within a day, we assume I'll never hear from you, but not so. First assumption busted. 2 weeks later, I get an email from Steve Chandler and he says to me in the email, call me, with his phone number. Now, I've never had that occur before. I never had someone in my whole life who sent me an email, just call me. Like not even a time in the email. Like not like call me tomorrow at 2:00 or here are 2 times I'm available. It was just call me. And then in another email were all these testimonials of people who had been coached by him. So I was like, oh, he really is a coach. Okay. I didn't even really know what coaching was. And I dialed the phone and he was there. I mean, who does that, right? Like now people, I mean, my brother jokes with me. He's like, I think you've answered the phone twice in maybe 10 years when I've called you. Twice. So because my life is relatively scheduled, I don't just answer random calls. I mean, I might a little bit more now, but not very much. So I was there. And we talked for 2 hours. And that was, without me knowing, the first enrollment conversation I would have with Steve Chandler. And in those 2 hours, he listened to me in ways that I had not been listened to before. And he said things that I had never considered before. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the University of Santa Monica, it is saying a lot when I say I was listened to in ways I had never been listened to before. Right? At USM teaches some of the deepest listening skills that I'm aware of. So Steve was different in his listening, but he was also really different in what he said to me. I just want to pause. Someone is not muted. You want to mute because we're hearing background noise from someone's life. So if you're not muted, take a moment and mute yourself right now. Thank you. So here I was talking to him. Now I will share with you that for me, I could not work with a coach who was not fun or funny. Like that wouldn't work for me. So if you want to know one key right out of the gate is that hire someone who is fun and funny. And the whole process of building your business will be more fun because I won't do it any other way. I don't really want to be around people who are not fun or funny. That just doesn't work for me. And that doesn't mean I'm not interested in profound depth in my life. I am. But I mean, I want to have as much fun as I can and as much depth as I can. So now I liked Steve primarily because he was funny. He made the whole thing, the whole process funny and fun. Just yesterday, I had a coaching session with Steve and I was talking about something and I was sharing about some feelings I was having. And he said, well, what do you want coaching on? Are you saying, please coach me to not have these feelings? And I paused and I thought, that might be what I'm requesting, which I really don't want. He's like, what do you want to dehumanize yourself? And he was like, if you don't want those feelings, go do the thing you don't like, go do the thing and they'll go away. And I thought, that's a really good key for me to bring to today. So you may be here today because you're like, oh my gosh, building my business, I would never use the word fun to associate with building my business. Like, I hate it. It's horrible. I don't like this part, Carolyn. Oh, please, if you could only just hand me clients and then it would be awesome. Now, show of hands, who's ever here had the thought like, oh, if I just got handed clients, this would be so fun. Show of hands. And I'm looking around. Yeah, right. Oh, that would be it. That would be everything, right? So I am here to say that you today can actually create a really different experience for yourself in that. I would never want that, just so you know. And I never did even then, even though it was messy and it was hard and I love messy because it's such a perfect word. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way because I mean, the messy was really where so much growth occurred and so much hilarity. I mean, let me just be straight up. Michelle and I made like ridiculous mistakes, like ones where and I'll share some of them today because they're funny. Like if you heard them, you'd be like, oh, wow, I'm looking pretty good. I haven't done that yet. Like wow, I might be ahead of her even now. And you might be. But so some of this comes with an appreciation for mistakes, right? So one of the things Steve and I talked about in our call yesterday is we were talking about me being with you all today. And, one of the things I love about Steve is there's never a time where I don't get value from my conversation with him. And remember, I've been working with this guy a long time. That's saying a lot, right? Over 15 years, maybe. And he said to me, the thing is, he goes, and you hear this all the time, and so do I. Coaches they forget that they have had to learn things in their life. And somehow they're not bringing that learning over here to the profession of coaching. So meaning, if you've ever learned to play an instrument, if you've ever learned to play a game like golf or tennis or water polo, or if you've ever done anything musical, singing, instrument, art, if you've ever known anyone to be involved in art, so anything that we want to learn, we have a starting point, right? There's a starting point. And that starting point is uncomfortable. We feel awkward. We feel green. We feel messy. And we often really dislike that part, right? We dislike it. We judge ourselves. We don't want, we're like, yuck. I don't know if you all ever do like Instagram reels, or my daughter who's 14 does TikTok, there's this thing going around where like people come on the screen and they, I don't know, look all messy. And there's this song and it says, can we just skip to the good part? And then all of a sudden they look amazing and they're at their wedding or the baby is born or whatever it is. And it's fun to watch. Some people like to watch it like 8 million times, but it's the most unfortunate thing in a certain way, right? Can we just skip to the good part? As if the journey, the process, the mess, the getting the money together for your wedding, if it's a wedding, the arguments with your family that led to the ultimate wedding, it's such an interesting place we are, right? Like I want to skip to the good part. I want to get to the part where I can coach. I want to offer that the very thing that our clients want, right? They want your help. They want your help starting a new business. They want your help healing a relationship with a family member. They want your help leading more effectively in their organization, right? And yet here you are like, ooh, but that's going to require you being uncomfortable. That's going to require you letting go of ideas that like it should be a different situation by now. So we all can talk that with our clients. And yet so many of us at the phase of growing our business, we kind of go, oh, yeah, I don't like this part. I don't like it. Can we just skip to the good part? Can we just jump over it? And I don't want to have to like get in there and do the learning and do the execution of messy and awkward and green. So you may be sitting there now going, yeah, but Carolyn, messy, awkward, green, like that's not fun. So then the question becomes, well, is it or isn't it? So I used to do CrossFit a long time ago, and it's not that long ago. I still do a version of it, but I don't do the traditional CrossFit anymore. Now, most people don't do CrossFit because it looks insane, and most people don't think it looks very fun, right? And there's a line that they used at the gym I went to, and the line was, it doesn't have to be fun to be fun. So I'll repeat that. It doesn't have to be fun to be fun. So some of this is going to be today about like the things you have called not fun. I'm going to challenge you. It's like, really, like, look, I mean, I've had a lot go on, like I'm much more comfortable, let's call it, with like people dying in my life and being with people when they're really sick and all those kind of things. I apologize. Something just fell, and not because someone threw there's no one here with me. No one threw something at me, but something just fell, and nobody's hurt. So we're all good. And there's not weird people hanging out in my side, like trying to get my attention. So, but some of this is about, some of you are taking the whole process too seriously, right? Okay, I see hands. So show of hands. How many of you are like, I'm taking, this is so serious, Carol. It's so serious. Like my life and my bank account depend on this, right? And I get that, but that's not helping you, right? So today, my intention is to see if I can help you relax more, like take the pressure down and off and start to be like, okay, like I'm getting to learn something new. I'm getting to connect with new people. I get to serve people, whether or not I'm being paid currently. Like those are all things I love. That's why I went into this business. So if you love it, and you love all of it, right? Because if you stay on the path, this is really the bottom line. If you stay on the path, you will make money. The newness and the awkwardness and the greenness it will fade. It will diminish. Do I still have moments of that when I do something new? Absolutely. I mean, when the book came out, I was like, ooh, I remember this. This feels horrible. Ooh, awkward, green. I'm going to pretend that nobody's reading it. I'm just going to pretend. But I was like, it was good. I was like, oh, right. This is what new feels like. This is what new feels like. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to ask you a question. So what is one thing that you've heard so far that is interesting or valuable? And then do it, raise your hand in the hand raising section. All right. So one thing that's interesting or valuable, and then we will go to another person. So let's hear from you, Sandy Sullivan, and then we'll go to Jennifer Butler.
So just to put a context of my comments, I'm Sandy Sullivan. I have been coached by Carolyn Freyer-Jones for 5 years. I was coached by Michelle Bauman for a year, and I was in the CJF school last year. And still, what always sounds interesting and valuable, and I want to add another word to it, is comforting, is how ongoingly messy this actually is. And for me, I have, with your help, Carolyn, transformed two things: my relationship to messy and my relationship to money, which is really my relationship to myself. So that has been interesting and valuable, and I will add comforting to me to hear again and again and again.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Sandy. All right, let's go, Jennifer.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Now you get to hear my dog's bark. Two things really hit me. Doesn't have to be fun. That's real. I wrote it down because that's really important, and I totally feel where that's coming from. And then when you said, like, when you were talking about wanting to include having funness in the coach that you work with, like, I wanted it to be fun. And I'm thinking, what is it that I want my clients to be seeing from me, and really getting clear about that. And I don't particularly describe myself as a funny person, but that is one of those things, like that is for me. And I think that's a little bit surprising. So yeah, that's what so far has hit for me.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Let's hear from Michelle Saunders and Mickey Cohn.
Hi, thank you. I just love when you said, if you love it, love all of it. And I wrote that down, and I put all in capital letters, and I underlined all. And because I hear myself when I speak about coaching to friends, to family, to clients, to everybody, and how much I love it. And I love the profession, and I don't even feel like I'm working. I feel like it's just me. I love it so much. And when you said love all of it, that just was so wonderful to hear, because there's components of it that I think I have put into categories, and now just take it all as one big, wonderful place to be. So thanks for that.
Well, Michelle, is it okay if I pause you for a moment? And
Absolutely.
Because I think what you're saying is really important, because I do think the bulk of coaches kind of put growing our businesses in this separate box that's kind of like a gross box. It's like, oh, now I have to do that right now. Oh, if only, right? This fantasy, if only. And I appreciate what you're saying, because see, in a way, and I want to kind of broaden the context for everyone. So the profession of coaching is still relatively new. It's, believe it or not, even though everybody's like, oh my gosh, everybody's a coach, and it's not really accurate, and it's still relatively new. See, and if you are either new in the business or in your first, let's call it 5 to 8 years, and you are still like struggling or disliking the development of your business, in a way, you're not serving the profession. Because when we walk around in the world, and whether we say it out loud or not, but we're like, oh, I love coaching, I just don't like this other part, the quote unquote having to get clients part. We're not sending great messages into the world about the profession. We're not sending great messages into the world about serving. See, because serving is the essence. Now, if I asked all of you, show of hands, who dislikes serving? Just dislikes it. You dislike serving people. Let's check. Is anybody raising their hand? You dislike it. Just like, ooh, yuck. Right, not one. If someone did, I'd be like, ooh, let's talk to them. I want to hear more. But do you hear that? So no one here is saying I dislike serving. So I really want to challenge everyone. If you do not dislike serving, then developing your business would never go in a box of I don't like that. Because that is what it is. It's just a different shape, but that's all I'm doing. I'm just talking to people. I'm serving, I'm coaching. It's no different. And that's the piece that most people get stuck on, right? It's like, it is the same. And if you love serving, and if having serving is fun, it's like, that's it. That's the whole ball of wax. If you are willing to stay on the path for however long it takes you in particular to get to where you want to be in your business, and just be like, I'm going to serve. I do like serving, that I know. So Mickey, thank you so much, Michelle. Mickey, let's hear from you.
Well, I have been, all of this is, I like the idea, first of all, if you love it, love all of it, which I haven't been, because I've been actually going on my way to complain about how I don't like a lot of it, you know? And
you go. Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. I don't even, there's just something here in the space right now, in my head, that I'm excited. Something's tingling. It's just, I can't even put words to it quite yet, but I feel like I'm at the precipice. This is like a good place to be. That's all I got to say right now.
Okay. Well, look, listen, Mickey, I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate that you're willing to be open, right? Like, because to me, when you say, I feel like something's happening, I hear openness. And, I want to offer to you, like, even if you just said, okay, if I only do one thing after today, I will no longer spend my energy complaining about what I don't like. If I just was like, I'm going to take a third, you know how some people are doing dry January, right? Like they're not drinking for all of January. You could do like dry January, no complaints about anything related to this. You think you can do it?
There's going to be a lot of empty space, a lot of quiet. Okay,
So like,
I can do it. I can do
play
it.
Play a game. Be like,
Yeah.
Can I do it? And see what happens. Because I know for me, the things that I like, if I am complaining about something, I tend to be getting more of that, right? Like I'm like, oh, and then I feel crappy. And then the thing that I'm complaining about tends to be more irritating to me. So are you willing, Mickey? Let's see if,
Yes.
All right. Is there anybody else who like wants to like play that game called the thing that I've been saying I don't like in this, I'm going to just zip it. Nice. You got Mickey, you have other people who are taking it on. All right. So, I promised you, and then I'm going to take some more, we'll take some more questions. I'll do some coaching. I promised you like more, the book does share some of the like stuff from me and Michelle, but it doesn't really get into like some of the early, just neither of us wrote a lot about specific mistakes that we made. And so I thought I would share some because they're funny to me and because it might be helpful because again, many of you raised your hands about like, oh, I'm taking this really seriously, right? So like Michelle and I, each of us easily at more than once sent emails to people that were not intended to get those emails in our haste. So either they got an email where like they read something about them that was about them as a potential client that they were not supposed to read because it was like for our coach. And then all of a sudden the sweat would just like the cold, icy sweat of shame and just disturbance would be like, oh my God, this person just read this email. Now, mistakes, as they say at the University of Santa Monica, mistakes are for learning. And can that be cleaned up? Absolutely. So like I've coached people around this all the time, right? Because you're working fast. Maybe you're not thinking, and I'm thinking, I'm going to send the email to Steve Chandler. But somehow I also click Sandy Sullivan's name. And now Sandy's reading an email about herself as a potential client. Oh my God. So look, I've apologized. One of the things that's great about this profession is you can go like, gosh, I'm so sorry. That was not intended for you. And that probably feels really weird. I am so, so sorry. I have never had anyone go, you are like a pathetic excuse for a person. Please delete my email, never speak to me again. See, part of our job is to be willing to share our humanness. Like I do a lot, right? You know, it's like, it's helpful to people. My humanness, my errors, my mess, my awkwardness, they are helpful. So I want to invite all of you to be like, well, to what degree do I share my humanness with people I'm connecting with? Like, do I share a story from my own life that reveals that I do stuff that sometimes gets me into messes?
Okay, here, I'll go get mine.
We have another person. Make sure you mute. Yeah, I think it's Brianna Williams. Brianna Williams, if you are not muted, you want to hit mute. So we did that, each of us. We each did way too many conversations with one person. Like, you know, I'd say to Steve, well, you know, I've talked to this person, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times. And he would be like, so, have you realized you're in the realm of like completely free coaching now? And I'm like, oh, darn it. Fooled again by my own, like, serving more. I want this person so much that I just want them. And I'm going to just, my desire, my need, me, my, has
Your
completely.
things in there seem to be smoking a little.
Okay. Oh yeah, I just checked on that.
that.
They should be good. Here, I'll go check on them.
Hey, Brianna Williams.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. All right. So now look, who else has done that? Who else is not muted and our lives have been like just listened to in various situations? Who else has done that in the last 2 years since the pandemic? Right? So like, I think it's funny. Like, I'm not mad. I want everyone to be clear. I'm not mad. I'm not bothered. It's like life happens, right? And that's part of this is like any profession you are going to be in is going to have this, right? So some of this is also about like, if you've been called to this profession, like you deeply want to do this and you deeply want to serve people. It's like, there's no profession that has skipped to the good part. Dentists, lawyers, teachers. We have a woman in the school. We've had a couple people who come from the profession of teaching into professional coaching. And and they'll be frustrated because it's awkward. I don't know how to write this email. And I thought I got it. I did it 3 times with you, Carolyn. Why do I still have you saying to me, you're in social self, right? I'm in social self. And I'm like, because it took me like 8 years to like really weed out all the social self of my emails. I mean, Steve Chandler would write back to Michelle and I, just one question over and over. Who's the one who wants something? Every email, who's the one who wants something? And then he'd write another one, and just one line. Is there a reason that you're being so gushy with this person you have never met? Michelle was like, she was just naturally a very gushy person, very warm. And she would just, love to meet you, love to connect, love to spend time with you. And he was like, whoa, like you are socially gushy, which is beautiful, but that's not translating well into you as a professional coach. So, I mean, we would laugh, like he would send us his email back with his coaching, and we would laugh because it was funny to see all the places we missed it, right? Like that's part of this is being like, am I going to be able to laugh at the places where I'm not getting it yet? Can I laugh at that? Because that's humanness right there. All right. So here's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to open it up and do some coaching. Like it's like someone who is very much in the throes of growing their business and who really is like in this, like I've put the development and growth of my business in the this sucks box or this stinks box, I apologize, and is like, and I can't get it out of there, and I want to. So let's do that. And the requirement, just let me repeat, is that you got to be willing to, say your stuff. Like, this is a place where all mess is welcome. All mess, all awkwardness, all green. It's like the all mess, all awkwardness, all green channel. That's where we are right now. So let's start. And is it Angeli? Angeli, help me say your name correctly. Oh, I think you have to unmute.
Yes, that's right. Angeli.
Angeli. Hello there.
Hi, how are you?
Good, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to All Mess All the Time. How can I serve you?
Well, I've been a coach for a couple of years now. I launched my group coaching program last year.
Nice.
And I have a couple of cohorts. I have taken business coaching programs as well after my certification and worked with other business coaches. And one of the things I struggle with is marketing, cold marketing. And I've done the whole pain and bliss and all of that stuff. I'm much more of a relationship type of person. I tend to be better one-on-one as well as through referrals and in just being able to connect with people in that way. That mass marketing thing, even to a targeted list, isn't usually something that works that well for me. It has for other people, but it hasn't so far for me. And I also enjoy that piece more, to be honest, the one-on-one interaction, the relationship building.
Yes.
So I guess my biggest challenge is how to be known more out there as a result.
All right. So first of all, Angeli, thank you for just sharing like your own experience, and that, like, first of all, like, and I think you're partially, are you here because are you aware, like, I'm not in favor of really any kind of marketing.
Yes, I heard that, which is why I like that approach, because I read I know Steve Chandler had co-author, and Michelle Saunders actually is a friend and actually recommended that I sign up for your webinar here. So that's why I'm here. It's really because of her.
Good.
So yes.
Right. Well, Michelle, thank you for inviting me. and great, because, and just so everyone knows, because there may be some people who don't know this, obviously I come from let's call it the Steve Chandler legacy, right? That's where I was trained in terms of serving versus selling, and that marketing really, Angeli, I give you credit that saying for some people it works. I don't think it really works for many. I think there are a few, I don't get me wrong, right? Or it appears to have worked. That's another thing. Like, I know some big people with like influencer online presence, and it looks like, wow, they are killing it. They have to be. And then I might find out through various sources, like, no, they're struggling, like financially, they are struggling. I know someone who's like, is a coach, and they have written books, but they're really big on like the book. They want the book to get them clients versus the connecting and the serving to get them clients. So I applaud that you already know yourself well enough to be like, I do better when it's really about the connecting. I do better when it's really about slowing down and serving one person at a time. And so this thing about getting known, let's talk about that, okay? How many people here like have that thought, which is human, right? Like, I want to get known. Like, how do I get known? So, Angeli, do I have permission to ask you some questions?
Yes, of course.
So you would like a full practice? Is that your goal? Do you want to be full-time?
I do. Right now I'm doing it on the side.
Okay.
And so because it's not financially sustainable.
Okay. So you have a full-time job?
Correct.
Okay. And are you doing it like around the edges, like at night, lunch and weekends, that kind of thing?
Correct. Really evenings mostly.
All right. Well, listen, bravo, because that's what I did. And to me, by the way, like, I think that is an incredible thing when someone is like, I joke with people, I'm like, I coached like on my bathroom floor with my phone, right? Like, I was like in the bathroom at night with my daughter in our 1 bedroom. Our daughter was with my husband, and I'd be like, hello, yeah, I'm ready for your session. Let's do this. Luckily, Zoom wasn't a big deal then. Otherwise, that, like, who would want to see their coach like in their bathroom? That wouldn't have really been really fun. But getting known is kind of this, it's like an alternate road. So I'm going to share about this. So like, if I said to you, hey, Anjali, you stay on this path and you keep connecting, having conversations and serving to whatever degree you can until you drown out your day job, right? Until you're like, oh, I can do this. And then you have a full practice in the next, let's call it, I don't know, like it took me 3 years-ish, let's say. If I told you that was all going to happen and you were going to have great clients who you loved, who you had served, would being known be a thought in your mind? Like, would that be something you'd even think about?
No, it's not. I'm not looking to be famous or to get recognition. I'm really getting, my whole aim is to have people know that I exist in the service that I do,
Right.
so that I can serve them.
Right.
Because obviously, if they don't know you exist, they won't come to you if you can help them, right? So it's not for fame that I'm looking for this. I'm looking for it for purposes of clientele.
Right. So that's, first of all, that's beautiful, right? So I really want everyone, did everyone really hear that? Because some coaches are really like, they have this yearning to be known, right? Like, because that will mean something to them, right? Like, if I'm known, then I don't have to enroll anymore. Clients will just come to me, which is also another, I hate to like dash someone's dreams. I don't have people rolling up to my house in Mar Vista going, please work with me. I don't. So how did you fill your group the last time?
So mostly through referrals, and I did some workshop at my company as well. And so I formed a relationship with them, and then they came to me for help. And so one was from a cold internet search, but really mostly my people come to me through referrals from either former clients or from friends who know coach friends or people who know my work.
Which is fantastic, because that says a lot about your coaching, by the way. You know what I mean? Like, referrals from clients are an indicator that the quality of the work is high.
Well, that's what I try to do. And that's my whole aim. And I combine a lot of different modalities into my coaching. So
beautiful. So what I would say to you, one of the things, because what I hear is like, you need to start expanding your community, right? Mm-hmm. Expanding the community of people that you serve.
Yes.
And for your consideration, Anjali, there's a couple different ways to do that when we don't have a big community yet, let's call it. So one idea for you is, have you done like a complimentary Zoom event where you have to you literally have to get in the game of inviting people? Have you ever done like, I'm going to do a 2-hour event on whatever you love to coach on?
So I have a free Facebook community for my targeted niche. Okay. And I've done actually presentations in there.
Okay. Have you done them outside of this group?
Only at different like platforms, like my company or that sort of thing. Okay. But I haven't put a webinar out there per se. I have a webinar that people can go in and view. That's a pre-recorded webinar, but a live workshop, I haven't done that.
So that is something that I'll say to coaches who want to grow their community, because it's an uncomfortable thing to create, but it's a really valuable one, because first of all, having something free to invite people to is a really fun game. You know, Michelle, when we would do these big complimentary events at her house, she would always be like, I love it when we're doing a complimentary event because I can invite anybody. And she literally meant anyone. She would be at the grocery store. She would run into a parent of like another kid at her kid's school. And she'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this event. You should totally come. And she would tell them about it. So for you, Anjali, one thing to think about as a game is like, well, if I did one, see, then you can invite from all the places, from work, you can invite from your Facebook, you can go through your friends and create a great email that invites them, and with your friends, you can be like, and bring someone that I don't know, bring someone new, right? So that's one way. Another way is, have you ever made a list of just like, okay, who are 5 to 10 people who I already know that I would love to work with? Have you ever?
No, I haven't. No,
Okay.
I haven't. Yeah.
So one idea for you is to make that list. And this is for everyone. Like, slow down and be like, I'm going to make a list of people I already know. Maybe I worked with them in my job a while ago. Maybe I know them. Like for me, I used to pull from my gym community because I went there a lot, or my kids' school or some other community I'm in. And then I want to start connecting. I want to start being like, like if you were in my community, Anjali, I would write to you and be like, Anjali, we haven't talked in like a year and a half since the pandemic hit. Do you want to do a Zoom coffee? I'd love to hear how you're doing. Like, let's just connect.
Right.
So I have lots of coaches in my school who mastered the Zoom coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the conversation, right? What are you looking for when you're in a conversation like that?
What am I looking for, or what
Yeah.
are they? There'd be maybe potentials for me to discuss what I'm doing, especially when they ask, what am I focused on, and also to look for where their need is. So when they mention something that is of concern to them, something they're struggling with,
Right.
I would start to just talk to them about it, and just start to, with their permission, of course, right?
Yeah.
Like, people don't like unsolicited advice.
No.
Not that coaching is advice, but they may just want to talk and connect rather than
Right.
have a session, even if it's free.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Exactly. So when I'm connecting with someone that I haven't seen in a long time, now one thing for everyone, I always have like my service hat on, not because I always want a client, because that's who I want to be in the world. Right. So when
that's usually how I do things as well, because I
Right.
enjoy it. I want to
Right.
help people.
Exactly. So if I'm in a Zoom coffee with you, Anjali, and you start talking about something, like this happened recently. I went to someone's birthday and we were doing miniature golf. And the person was an interior designer who I knew from like a number of years ago. I haven't seen her in a long time. And she started sharing that she was like she was in the lane to become a partner at her firm. And she doesn't know, she knew I was a coach, but she doesn't know what I do. And she was just like, I have to start doing new business development. Like, ugh. And I was like, oh. And I said, hey, listen, we don't have to talk now. We're playing miniature golf, and we all know that's a very big priority right now. But like, I help people all day long with like that very thing. If you ever want to talk, like, just email me. So-and-so has my email, but also there's 2 books you should absolutely get. And she was like, what are they? She pulled out her phone. I'm like, get this book. It's called The Joy of Selling by Steve Chandler, and get this other book. It's called The Go-Giver. And she wrote them down, and she's like, I'm going to get them. And I said, why don't we make an agreement? When you get them and you've read them, why don't you email me and tell me how they work for you? And that was it. Right. So we just did that. So, we'll see. Does she email me? Now, could I reach out to her and be like, hey, how did it go with the books? Right. So if you make a list of 5 to 10 people that you would love to work with, and just start small, connection, like, let me get back into their world. Maybe nothing will come up. But if I'm on a call like that, Anjali, what I also might say is, hey, now listen, you're talking about XYZ. I do this all day long with people because, I'm a coach, and like, if you ever want to have a coaching conversation about that thing, like, I'd be willing to do that. If that's something you want, we could do that. That would be separate, and you may not want to do that. And they might go, well, no, I do. I didn't realize you work with people on this stuff. I'm like, yeah, all day long. And it'd be my gift. And if they go, yeah, that would be great. this is for everyone. In that moment, you want to go, oh, let's get that going. Like, get your phone. Let's get it going. Don't be like, I'll email you tomorrow. Because many of us put more space because it's so uncomfortable. No. I'll email you. And then
Right.
moved away from the connection and away from in the moment, moving it forward. So is this helpful?
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm taking away a lot from this. It's really giving them something on the spot to take a look at, and we can connect back later on it. And also in the moment telling them that this is what I do all day long. And so if you're ever interested in having that coaching conversation, let me know. And,
We'll make it
and
happen.
if they say yes, then let's pull out the phone and let's put it in the calendar now.
Yeah. And for everyone. So if you do not have 5 to 10 people that you would love to coach, if you're like, I don't have that, Carolyn, I might have 2. That is a sign that you need to grow a community, because look, some people don't, right? They just don't. There's no judgment on that. But if you can't create a list of 5 to 10 people you would love to serve, that's a sign that's like, oh, I need to go get out in the world a little bit and create more people in my life, right? Because this
Sure.
is a business that involves humans. So, I share this story often. Steve Chandler, when he was in the early days, he didn't have a lot of people. And he said, I was so awkward and green. I decided I didn't even have enough confidence to give a talk. Like, he was like, I don't know enough to give a talk. So he would create these things at the library that were like an inquiry into leadership or an inquiry into relationships. And he's like, I could at least facilitate a conversation about relationships, even though I'm not an expert. His first ones, 1 or 2 people would come, right? Awkward, green, and messy. And he was like, I'm just serving. I don't care. That one person will get a really good conversation with me. So some of us have this thing of like, well, I don't want to do it if only 2 or 3 people come. And in the beginning, that has to go away. It's like, no. That's called, like, if you love serving, keep coming back. Like, oh, well, I said I love serving to Carolyn. I raised my hand. So 2 or 3 people, those are people to serve. So Anjali, thank you so much for the question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mickey, let's do this.
Okay. 4 years coaching, really haven't brought my all to it. There's too many things I don't like that I let myself get stopped. Mostly my own fear, very much a reactionary fear. React to my fear. And it's time. I'm just tired of this. So, and I just came off, I took off the last 6 months. We had a lot of family health issues, including my own, and blah, blah, blah. But so I've been I've been coaching a few clients I have ongoingly, but not seeking out anybody else. So it feels like a reset time. So, well, let's start with that.
Well, so you said it's time, right? I heard that in the midst of all of that. I heard it's time. So does it's time mean like I'm willing to do it afraid?
Yeah. I mean, talking to people, one-on-one, I love it. There's so many, I've allowed that conversation, that sensation I label fear, to get in the way.
And I want to offer to you, you don't have to let it get in the way. I mean, fear is just like, I do all sorts of stuff afraid. Some of you already know this, but I shared oh, I'm much more at ease now around death and dying and sick people. But so my mom passed away back in July, and my parents lived in New York, and they had an apartment that now my brothers and I need to handle, right? There's stuff in there, right? They lived there 47 years. We all collect a lot of stuff, and thank God it was only an apartment. But Mickey, I was terrified to go back and do the clean out because I was going to lead that part. And I was terrified. I didn't want to go. I mean, emotional, yes, but I was scared of what that experience would be like. Did I put it off? I did. And then I was like, okay, I got it. Like, you know, my brothers who live in New York, they needed to do some stuff. And I was like, they're waiting on me. I have to do this because I made an agreement that I would. And I did it afraid. I flew alone. I mean, I don't mind flying alone, but I walked into my parents' apartment for the first time with no one there to greet me. And I was afraid. I have to tell you, Mickey, it was one of the most important experiences I've ever had to be in their space, to do what I did. And I was terrified. And that fear dissipated within the first 24 hours of being there. So all the buildup, right? All the, you know, the fear, it all dissipated. But it did require me going, I'm gonna go afraid. So I offer that not so that you try to, I'm gonna make the fear go away before I do it. I would do away with that. I would really consider stepping into, I'm gonna do it afraid. I'm just gonna see what doing it afraid is like. Because I've tried not doing it afraid. So the only question, Mickey, is have you exhausted not doing it?
Oh, I'm sure I can come up with a few more ways to not do it. I'm an expert.
Well, that's the thing. Are you going to close the exit doors? This profession requires closing the exit doors and being like, I'm in the path. I'm not taking the exit strategies that I have taken because it's uncomfortable, because of all the stuff, right? It's like, I'm showing up for this thing.
Yeah.
What did you do before you were a coach?
My wife and I have been in real estate business, investing and speculating and managing properties and flipping and that kind of thing.
How did you feel about that profession?
It was great when it was going great. We started in the early aughts, and we, went, it was like I was a chimp throwing darts at a board. Wherever it landed, it was okay. It didn't matter. I had no knowledge. We were there in the middle of it, and there was a lot of fear in that initially.
Can I pause you?
Yeah.
So you just lit up so much. If you raise your hand, if you noticed that when Mickey shared about that, like he just lit up, right? He was like, oh my gosh, we were just there. Now, let me ask you, you said you didn't know what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Was it
messy?
I
mean, I had no background in real estate other than we bought a house. That was it.
Exactly. So what made that fun and exciting?
Well, once I got over the fear of taking on too much, well, it was easy. I mean, it didn't seem like it took a lot. And my wife I married someone who would do more than I would. It's very clever that way. She's a bulldog, and but anyway, what I really loved about it is here's the snapshot. We're driving, we're originally from New York. We're driving on I-10 between Jacksonville to Tallahassee. It's a beautiful morning, around maybe 10 o'clock. And I said to Kate, what day is it today? I didn't know what day it was. Didn't feel like Wednesday, didn't feel like Saturday. And it was a beautiful sunny day. The interstate was kind of empty, it was quiet. So that kind of was the thing that really was cool about it.
Yeah. Well, I hear a couple keys. So you did this with your wife, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Have you been coached or with other coaches as you're doing this?
I've had some coaches I've hired, but I didn't feel like I had the income at some point in my coaching. I stopped hiring a coach.
And have you ever been in a group with other coaches who are doing this alongside of you?
I have to think about that. I've sat in some webinars like this, but not ongoingly.
Yeah.
Although what I've done is in my practice, there's a couple of areas that I don't want to do the work, like marketing and the website stuff. So I've partnered with people and like I'm trading with one other coach, and she's doing that for me, and I'm coaching her, and same
Okay.
thing, the other thing. But no, I don't have a group of coaches that I work with. I've had single people I've talked to, like there's a coach locally I had spoken to for a while,
Yeah.
but we've not touched base in a while.
So 2 things for your consideration. Number 1, don't do any more marketing.
Thank you.
So that you can just let go of for your consideration. And then have you read The Prosperous Coach?
Yes, and I've read it twice.
Okay.
And I get annoyed at Steve and Rich sometimes.
They don't mind.
Yeah, I know. First of all, okay, so let's see. It always felt, the money conversation was always in there somewhere. Always, it was hard to let go of it. I love to make a difference with people. And I've joined a business group, and I've actually offered a lot of free coaching sessions,
Yes.
so they could understand what I do, and I can support them in doing it, so they could then refer me to people, and just to help them. But I read The Prosperous Coach, and we're talking right now. So here I am.
No, I get
and
that.
I've avoided doing Steve's class, until now.
Right. So, I mean, look, I'm going to share a story about another coach, which I think will be helpful for everyone. So I know of a coach. They're going to be in the 3rd year of my school, but I didn't know this about them until recently. So this is a coach who, I did not know this, but at a certain point was really broke, to the point of like food stamps broke, like way broke, and big time debt. And we were in a coaching session, and he shared with me, I was just so surprised. I was like, I had no idea that. And he said, yeah, he goes, and I will say this. He said, any money I made from coaching, I immediately reinvested in more coaching, more groups. I've never stopped doing that, ever. So I really want everyone to hear me on that. This coach, and they said, now they are no longer on food stamps. They are now over 6 figures. They have handled the majority of their debt. And literally, and this person said to me, there was a point at which I took a snapshot of what was in my bank account, and it was like $16. Now, like, I think that's incredible in a fantastic way. Like, what an amazing story, right? Like, the moment you look at your bank account and you have $16, in some ways, Mickey, it's like, I got nothing left to be afraid of, right? It's like, I'm here, 16 bucks is what I got to my name. The thing this person never stopped doing, they were like, they dug themselves out, and they were like, any money outside of bills was like, I'd be in a group, I'd find someone who would coach. And I just want to be a voice for that. Like, if you are not getting coaching, if you are not investing, like, and I mean with real money, that is a question mark in terms of, because this is a profession, right? Like, I would not be sitting here talking to you all. I've never not paid Steve Chandler. Like, it's like, it's like my taxes. I do it every year. I'm still, just so you know, Mickey, I still get irritated. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to write this check again. Oh man, this better be worth it this year. It's just, right? Because that's what we do. And there's no question, right? Like, the return on my investment. So I really want to offer that to everyone. It's like, you don't need to have 150K to find coaching. You do not. There are coaches who are out here who are doing this work in the let's call it the prosperous coach, service-oriented approach. It's like, and I want you to know, like, Michelle, I think I shared a video of hers recently. If you're on my email list, she talks about, like, the first $25,000 she paid Steve. She was like, she was so angry, Mickey. She was like, this bozo, like, forget it. I'm never writing this guy another check again. This is ridiculous. She's like, the moment I wrote the check, everything changed. I handed over the money and everything changed in my work, in my relationship to money. And she's like, and she paid him again. She paid him until she wasn't alive anymore. Right? So I offer that for everyone because that is a key. And if you're not, like, if you haven't said I'm in, I will dig my way to get coached. I got 20 bucks in my bank account. If that person, that coach is like, and I said, how did you manage that? They were like, I went into debt. They were like, I was just like, I have to be coached. That's the only way I'm going to move forward in this profession. That's it. Now, is there a turning point? It's like Steve always says, if we stay on the path, there will come a day where what we're investing is less than what we're making. And then it will come a day where what we're investing is nothing. Like even though it'll seem like a lot of money, like I don't even, it's like, do I question anymore that I'm going to like make triple back what I pay Steve? I don't, because I know it works. I'm like, as long as I show up for my sessions and I do what he tells me, it will work. So are you willing, Mickey, to go, I need to experiment 30 days, do it afraid?
Yes, that I'm willing to.
Yeah, just do it afraid, to be like, okay, I'm running the test. I'm going to do it afraid. And my complaints, because I've already made the agreement, they don't get airtime. I am not breathing life into my complaints. At a minimum, Mickey, I would say to you, even if they're in your head, do not speak them out loud. They can hang out there, but you can be like, no, you don't get air. And can I offer one more thing?
By all means.
Can you ask your wife to be like, I made these agreements? Because if you're going to complain to someone, I'm guessing she might be one of the people who hears the complaints.
Yeah, I'm afraid she is.
So are you willing to make sure she knows the agreements you made?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Is there anything else I can do to serve you today?
No, I'm going to sit in this conversation. There's definitely is. I don't know quite what it is in this conversation. I'll have this conversation be it, and
Okay.
perhaps we'll speak around
All right.
at some point. Thank
Sounds
you.
Good. Thank you for sharing. Who got value from hearing what was going on there? So look around, Mickey. Just everyone raise your hand if you got value from that. It's awesome. All right. So who else has something they're like, I'm ready, like throw me in the ring. Let's get messy. Let's do Lynn. Come, I know you, Lynn. Let's do it.
Hi, Carolyn. Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Good. You are so inspiring to me. And so I'm still teaching. I'm a middle school teacher.
Yes.
And I'm still doing that, but I've been coaching on the side for about 5 years or so. And I'm at the point now where it's like getting more fun. The enrollment and everything is getting more fun. So
does everyone hear that? If you're not in the first, if you're in the earlier stages, so Lynn is here. She is saying to all of you, it's finally becoming fun. And you stuck with it.
I stuck with it because I understand that thing. I mean, I've heard a lot of different coaches on different webinars, and the theme is stick with it.
Yep.
That is it. Persevere.
Good.
Persevere.
Good.
So it is getting more fun, but it's still very nerve-wracking. Tomorrow I am doing a Zoom workshop about manifesting in the new year, and I have more people signed up than I ever had before. But like, there's still that element of nervousness. And that's why, like, I just appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate when you said, like, when your book came out, that feeling came up again. I appreciate, like, when people are not muted and like how you handle that, because I have a Google slide presentation that I'm going to do. And I'm like nervous, like, am I going to mess it up? I'm going to be going back and forth between my gallery and my presentation, like, and I think what I want is just to appreciate the messiness, I guess. And just like, it's just a lesson in, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't, and that's like, it just doesn't have to be perfect. So I do have a question in all of that though, too, because part of it is serving, and I love doing this. I've done this workshop before a couple of times. My intention also is that I'm setting up a 12-week group program to start in the spring. So my intention is to connect and to somewhere in the process, like mention it, right? And so,
Can I give you a little more coaching on that?
yes.
Just talk about it in the beginning. Just be like, look, some of you are here because you just want to do this, and that's great. And then some of you are here because you might know I'm going to be offering something after this, and it's going to be a 12-week program. And I want you to know, totally fine if you just get everything you need from today. And I will talk for a few minutes at the end for those of you that want something more. And if today's all you need, fantastic.
I know I hear that. And for some reason, I just like, yeah, that's the part that's a little tricky. And
What happens?
just that whole idea of it's a limiting belief about bait and switch. I'm like, bringing them here to this for one thing, but now I'm saying something else. And so I had this like insight, even just this morning, because at the end of the Google slide presentation, one of the last questions is like, what do you want to create? We've gone through this whole process. So now what do you want to create in 2022? So I thought, well, maybe there's my opportunity, like where I could share, like, and what I want to create is this 12-week program that I'm going to be doing. And like, so I don't know, just throwing that out there.
So can I challenge you?
Yes.
So I want to see if everyone heard what I heard. So like in some ways, for your consideration, Lynn, to me, you're like operating like what you're up to is bad news. Like, it's like it's like it's not like it's a secret that we all earn our livings as professional coaches. I mean, like that's not a secret and it's not bad news. See, to me, for your consideration, you say it up front, it's like, and then you get to the content. It's not, see, like when my experience is when people wait to the end to mention this stuff, then I feel like I'm at a bad timeshare presentation. Like I'm at a bad timeshare presentation, which are the worst. I mean, like, ugh. So it's like, I want to be transparent, right? It's like, hey, here's what I'm doing. And I'll mention it at the end and this is all fine. See, because how long do you have with them?
At least 2 hours.
So would you say, is it fair to say that in those 2 hours, is there a high likelihood you're going to serve them to the fullest of your capacity?
Yes.
Do you have any doubts about that?
No. I mean, even if it's just because it's a lot of reflection, it's a lot of journaling.
Sure.
I mean, and just that process is so helpful. It's very helpful to me.
Right.
It's where some of my biggest like ahas come from. So.
And if somebody wants more, is it of service for them to know about what you're up to?
Yes. Yeah, and I don't want it. I've been to timeshare presentations. I don't want it to feel like that at all.
Ugh.
No.
Like that makes me want to go take a cold shower. Like, oh God. Right. See, it's like, to me, that's where it's like, if we're going to serve versus sell, serving is sharing. That's it. You're just sharing. And then you want to get to the content. And then at the end, you can go like, yeah, and if you're interested, the 12-week program starts X. Email me if you want to have a conversation. And if you don't, if you got everything you needed from today, that is awesome. And mean it.
Right.
Is this helpful?
Yeah. Yes.
Because Lynn, to me, this is the next level for you, right? Like you're like, okay, now I've been doing this 5 years. I'm staying on the path. It's starting to be fun. And now this is the next level of you being like, and I claim that and I share what I'm up to. And I don't have the time to be thinking about, well, what are they going to think about it? Like, like, oh, they're going to think it's this and it's that. It's like, if you really serve those people, any bait and switch thoughts are going to go out the window. I mean, unless you go on for 25 minutes at the beginning, which you won't.
No, it's just like, it's just like, yeah, how you did it on your
Right.
call.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you feel like, oh no, she's doing a timeshare presentation. Here we go.
No, I felt that you're a smart leader, you're a smart business person to like do that.
Right. Because, like, could you imagine if I had to go back to Steve Chandler and he'd be like, well, did you mention that there are spaces left? And I was like, no, I felt bad. I felt like, oh, that would be yucky. He would be like, he would just shut the computer down. I don't even know if he'd say goodbye. He would just shut it down. And then I'd be like, wait, what? I'm alone? And he wouldn't even end the conversation. He would just shut his computer down. So another key, one of the main reasons I've gotten better at this is because I don't love those experiences with my coach, right? Like I like when it's fun, like to have a coach who's like, you did it, you nailed it, you go, right? Like it to me, like the fun of the learning and having it reinforced. And you're a teacher, Lynn, right? It's like, oh yeah. So you want to be like, oh, I want to get this right because Carolyn coached me. So then you can email me and be like, I did it. I did it exactly how you said. And I can go, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Yes. And like, do you ever get nervous? I mean, I know you would talk about do you ever still get nervous when you like do these?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be nervous when we start next week. It's the 4th year of the school. I know how to do it, but I was joking with our team, with Amber Chris, who's one of the lead faculty, and Johnny Roman, who's the director of the school. I was like, gosh, we've been doing this in pajama bottoms for the last 2 years. I hope I know how to do it being with people. I'll be nervous, right? Some of you are going to be there next week. Alethea is laughing. She's like, I hope she knows how to do it because I'm coming to get what I came for, right? I mean, yeah, I get absolutely, Lynn. And it's like, I don't make that wrong. It's kind of like I'm alive, right? Like, ooh, like even though the book was wildly uncomfortable, I was like, oh, there are still things that get me like, ooh, this is a little nerve-wracking, right? Like, I'm alive. I'm still in the game. There's still things I can do that are going to put me at my edge. See, and that's an opportunity, Lynn, for you to be like, ooh, tomorrow I get to kind of go to a new edge.
Right. Cool. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're gonna let me know, right?
I will.
Right. I love it. All right. So I want to hear, Lisa, I want to hear from you. And then I want to hear from someone who's here, who's brand new, who's never, ever like I don't know you from anybody. So Lisa, go for it. And then we're going to take one more.
Hey, thanks. So can I talk about a very specific prospect call I have coming up next week and get your input on that? Okay, cool. So I have a second call, but really like a first full length coaching call with a man who was referred to me. Our introduction call, he's a physician and he owns a couple businesses. Okay. Our first introduction call, he was referred to me because he was in the middle of a situation where his company might be acquired and there was a lot going on. We get on the call and the first thing he says to me is like, actually, I decided not to sell our company. So the whole purpose of the call, like 24 hours before it changed, which is fine. We had a conversation and he had asked at the end of that call, like how I work. And I told him how I work. And I said, for somebody like, for a lot of my clients, especially for the position you're in, I'd want to focus on a project, a concrete thing. So the company that he is eventually looking to sell, he realizes he wants to put more infrastructure in place, like hire a CEO, etc. And he was like, that's what I'd want to work on with you. And he brought it up loosely there, but from the people who referred me to him, I also have heard this feedback. He was like, control's a bit of an issue for me. I was like, great. But we were kind of at the end of our time and I was like, great. So let's schedule another call. We will coach around that. I gave him some homework and we have our call next week.
Okay.
I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is because I have a feeling that the way to best serve him in that conversation is to like very, very, very head on address the control thing. Is that accurate?
I mean, why not?
Yeah. I mean, the why not, the real reason for the why not is because I'm scared, but yeah.
I mean, Lisa, look, just so everyone knows, Lisa, how long have you been coaching now?
I'm entering into my 4th year of coaching. I'm entering into my 3rd year of my business.
And are you having fun yet?
Having a blast.
Okay, so everyone really hears that. And how awkward and messy and green did you feel at the beginning? Remind me.
Do you need reminding, Carolyn? It was really awkward. And I mean, it was,
there were tears, there
every
was
day.
everything. So like Lisa's really such a great example of someone, again, staying on the path, like Lynn, messy, green, tears, fears.
Yeah.
The whole deal. So I want to say something, Lisa. I really trust your sense of what will be the best direction in the conversation. And if you're getting instinctively, I need to go right to this control stuff, and it's uncomfortable for you, even more reason probably that's the best direction.
Yeah. I guess a question I have for you is like, have you ever had somebody get insanely mad in an enrollment call with you and then still sign with you?
Probably
not.
Like the mad usually leads to a big fat no. Usually. Okay. I'm trying to think. I've had people not like what I say to them. I've had people be underwhelmed by me. Like, Carolyn, whatever. So I've had them be like, oh, people talk about her, she's whatever, which is fine, by the way. Underwhelming people is a good experience as much as, so I've had people get mad. And I've had people, Lisa, the distinction I would make is I've had people not like what I say to them and hire me.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that was and I think that's what's occurring in my brain is like, there's a hyperbolic situation of like, oh, if he doesn't like what I say, he's going to get mad. But I think if I don't say it, this is really helpful. Thank you. I think if I don't say it, he will be underwhelmed by me.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if he is a physician. And with all due respect, if anybody here was a former physician or has physicians in their family, physicians are amazing people. They don't often get told what they don't want to hear.
Yeah, and I know that his he is definitely the head of every room that he walks into.
Right. So you really, Lisa, want to be in your own strength and be like, and really die before battle. Sword goes down. I don't care if I get this guy as a client. I care that I share the truth that I see.
Okay. Thank you.
Nice work. Let me know.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So let's do this. I want to see if I can assist someone brand new who I do not know, who's new to this, who wants to get some coaching on like, what if filling your practice is the fun part? Like, is there anyone else I can serve in the time we have remaining that is brand new? Like, and raise your hand, like in your hand raising capabilities. All right, Seb, you were the first one. Let's do this.
There we go.
Hey there.
Hey, Carolyn. Hey, everyone. Yeah, I suppose the question I had is, what I find is no matter how open I am to serving people, I sense just a general resistance to I don't know if it's the opening or it's just like, hey, do you need any help with that? And I'm like, nope, I'm good, I'm fine.
Tell me a little more, like how that's showing up. Can you give me some context? Like, or tell me where you are in the process of your coaching practice and kind of how those conversations show up.
So I've been coaching for a couple of years. Whenever I honestly don't know how long, but I think it's been about 5 years. sometimes I create offers in networking groups that I am, that brings in great conversation. That's fine. But when it comes to just kind of like reaching out to people that I know and sort of balancing the relationship side of things to the invitation side of things, which arguably are kind of the same thing, I feel like
You get a lot
defenses
of
go up,
no's?
walls go up, and it's like,
Meaning
what
like
am I
you
sending?
are you offering them time and they're saying no thanks?
Yeah, or even like, is there anything like, what's going on with you, or do you need help with anything? And they just kind of like, nope, 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 thanks, I'm good. But in a yeah, in a strange way,
Okay.
just like, yeah, I'm getting that vibe that
Yeah, I get it.
fine, I guess. But
How is your business doing? Is it where you want it to be?
no, no, I'm working full time right now. I've got one or two clients at a time, but and now I'm in between clients right now. So
Okay. Again, I acknowledge you. Like, again, you know, I was never someone who was gonna like, I'm gonna leave my work and have $1 in the bank, and you know, that's Rich Lipton's story, right? He's that kind of person. Like Michelle and I were like, no, 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 that won't work for us. We are gonna build a bridge to this. So Seb, without seeing it, I'm just gonna give you a thought to consider. Like, if that were occurring for me, and I said to Steve, you know, I keep having this thing where people feel like they're like, no, 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 I'm good. I'm good. Thanks though. He would probably say to me like, let's slow down. I want to look at the communications you're sending that talk about this, or we're going to run game film on an actual conversation where you made an offer like this. Because what that tells me, Seb, there is something likely that you are doing that is pushing people away without knowing it, like not intentionally, obviously, right? But there's either something in the realm of they feel sold to without you saying it, or they don't. Like, one of the biggest things is, do you give people permission to say no with real, like, truth? Like, if I say to you, hey, Seb, look, you want to send me some emails of what you did with people? I'll take a look at it, and totally fine if you don't want to. Like, I mean it. I'm fine if you don't send me emails. You got to mean it. Like, if I invite someone and I go, hey, let me know either way, and I'm fine, like totally fine to say no. That is one significant way you can eliminate sales resistance, because we all have it. Just, it's natural now that people are like, no, 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 Seb, I'm good. Because there's so much coming at us, right? We're just like, leave, like, stop. So you want to know that's just there. Sales resistance is like gravity. So you want to be someone who's willing to be like, if you're going to make an offer, you want to be like, hey, you know, if it would ever be helpful, like, I talk about, like, would you ever want to have a conversation about that thing you just said? And by the way, totally okay with me if that's a no. Totally okay. And I say to coaches, emphasize it's okay to say no.
Yeah, and what's coming up for me too is the asking, is everything okay? Are you curious about, you know, or is there anything going on in your life? And that being like the immediate, nope, I'm good. You know what I mean? Rather than
I hear you.
You know what I
So
mean?
they're not sharing, is what you're saying. Like, you're not even
Yeah.
getting to the place where they're like, oh yeah, this thing at home, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's like we're talking and I'm just connecting with someone and like, so, or like it's about to wrap up and I'll be saying like, hey, you know, by the way, is there anything you need help with? And I'm not even talking about coaching. I mean, like, maybe a connection with someone. Do you want something? Like, nope, 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 that's good.
Right.
And it just, yeah, it's interesting to me.
Right. To me, that would say there's not enough connection yet. So if that's happening, it would say to me, there's not enough connection yet, right? Because this is a business of relationships, right? And we don't share with people, like, everyone has their own like ratio. Like, I'll share with you more when I feel this safe, or I'll share with you more when I feel this safe. And I'll share with you more when I feel this safe. It would say to me, Seb, that, and I use the word safe, like we're in a game of building trust. That's what we're doing. And so you may be asking that question too early. It may need to be more casual, like, hey, you want to do another Zoom coffee? Like, we didn't really get a chance to talk that much. Like, there has to be more connecting before you put forward a question like that. Does that make sense? Or is that like making sense?
Yes, and the way that you said relationship and connection, that really strikes me was, I could sit next to someone in the subway and have like a really long conversation with them, and they'll open up. But I think that where I'm really running into issues is digital, especially like chat and or messaging and that kind of thing. So that could be
That
could be something.
That's where that's happening. That's 100% accurate. Because that is, whether or not it's intentional, that's just like most people are like, hard no, hard no. I do not need help with anything over direct message. Thank you, bye. It's just a natural impulse, not because there's something wrong with you, Seb.
No, thanks. I believe that. It's just, it's true.
So
and I feel the same way. Just, I don't know if anyone else has felt like that, but often some people just like friend me and I'm like, ooh, it says on the right up at the top of your Facebook page that I help coaches make $100, and I'm like,
the worst. I've had people that message me. They're like, Carolyn, do you want, like, I help big coaches do big things, and I'm just like, ew, like, stop it. So that's a great awareness, Seb. If you practice shifting that, like just being like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm slowing it way down when it's in direct message or it's in anything, like just more like really gentle. It's a long game. Some people are really long games. Is that useful?
Absolutely. I totally get the distinction, and I already see different ways of going about it. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Seb, glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
All right. So here's the big question for everyone. Was this any fun? Are you like, I cannot get back these 90 minutes, Carolyn, and I'm furious at you? Or was this fun? Show of hands. Like fun, useful, great. Great. And like this can be a beginning for you, right? Not an ending, a beginning, right? You can be like, okay, I see where I have been, like, make being afraid fun. Like, I like being afraid. I don't love the feeling, but I'm like, ooh, being afraid, like, okay, if I'm afraid, I know there's something really, there's a big opportunity for me. Because if I'm afraid, like Steve used to say to Michelle and I, if you're not afraid to fill in that group, it's not a big enough goal. Like if it's not like, you know what I mean? It's like being afraid means like, oh, there's something good at stake here that I want. We're not afraid. It's like, like, whatever, like, but if I'm afraid, I know there's something for me, like, oh, there's something in here. Like this is either important to me or it's an edge that I haven't like practiced yet. To consider that like fear is like, go towards it. And one other thing I'll share and then we'll wrap it up. Fear and excitement are two sensations that are almost the same. And some of us are mislabeling excitement or enthusiasm as fear, right? Because if you think about when you're excited about something and you think about when you're afraid, there's similarities, right? In the feeling, in the quality. So consider that. It's like, if you've been like, I want to grow my business and I'm terrified, maybe because it really matters to you. It really matters. And that's good news. Go towards that. Go towards it. Don't pull back, go towards it. And I won't guarantee it because I'm not in the business of guarantees. That's like a unicorn and rainbow coaching. I don't do guarantees, but I can almost promise you, if you go towards what you are afraid of, it will be more fun. It's likely that what's on the other side of that is something amazing. And at a minimum, you'll feel better because you're like, that wasn't that scary. It wasn't that scary, right? So I acknowledge all of you for making this time today, for being here today, for sharing so openly, for coming with just open ears and open hearts. And Jennifer, I'm so glad that you chose your birthday to spend 90 minutes with all of us. Happy birthday, and have a beautiful day, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Recording will come out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you.